Hello, and welcome to part 5 of our series on Google Forms. So far, our trainings have provided educators a variety of ways to use Google Forms. In this final training video, educators will learn how to use Google Forms as a rubric to grade and provide feedback for live presentations. If you haven't watched previous videos in this series, we recommend you do so before watching this video. Link to these videos are in the description. By the end of this training, you should be able to create a Google form to use as a rubric to grade live presentations. Most of the features that you will use during this presentation have already been covered in other videos. If you are unsure of how to use any of these features mentioned, check the description below to return to previous training videos on those features. To begin setting up the form to use as a live presentation rubric, think of a presentation that will be given in your classroom. For this example, we'll use a speech that students will give over mythology. Title the form and provide details of the form's content. To begin the body of the rubric, the first question will be a short answer. This question will be where you input student names. The remainder of the form will be designed as the rubric. There are two ways to design the rubric. We will cover both versions in this presentation. The first design when creating a rubric will be using the multiple choice grid. When first selecting the multiple choice grid, you will be given rows and columns to complete. The rows will be where you put your criteria. Begin inputting your criteria into the rows. On this rubric, we will keep the criteria only to the descriptive phrases. On the formal rubric the students receive, they will have the detailed descriptions for each of the included criteria. Next is to design the columns. The columns are where you would input the grade scale. This can be designed in numerous ways, including using only numbers or descriptive adjectives. For this rubric, we will be using descriptive adjectives and the points associated with those levels. Begin inputting the information into the column section like this. When you have completed your columns, your form should look something like this. When you click away from the question, you will see that your question changes into a format that includes the rows and the columns the way they will look for your students. This is a good chance to double check and make sure that your rubric looks correct. If you have a rubric that applies different point values to different criteria, we suggest creating different questions in your form for each of those sections, like this. This makes grading your rubric easier and much more organized. We will return how to use the rubric later in this presentation. This portion will cover another way to create your rubric. Each version has its own benefits, so depending on your rubric design, you can decide which one works better. This version uses the multiple choice question type. The criteria should be written in the question box, and each of the scoring levels should be written in the answer spots. Here is a finished example looking at the lyrics associated with the song, using the multiple choice questions type. It is always important to provide feedback for your students. To do this, you should use the paragraph question type. You can use the paragraph question type after criteria in your rubric or one feedback question at the end of your rubric. Under the settings icon, the cog in the upper right corner of the screen, you need to make sure that the limit to one response is not selected. This ensures that you will be able to fill out the form multiple times. Also, under the presentations tab, make sure that the show link to submit another response is selected so that you can continue to submit responses as students give presentations. To grade live presentations with the form, you must fill the form out. You can use the preview mode, the eyeball icon in the upper right corner, to fill out the form. You should grade each presentation as your students are presenting. When a form is completed, you will see this screen. When your next student is ready to present, simply click this link and you can fill out the form again. Repeat this process as each of your students present. Viewing the results of your form is the same as seeing the results for any other Google form you might create. The difference is that you filled out the form for your students. There are a variety of ways to return the graded rubric to your students. To see each rubric individually, select the Individual tab. Here you can see each of the rubrics that you completed. To return grades to your students, you can select the Print icon. You can either print a hard copy to return to your students, or you can print it as a PDF and email the rubric to your students. This concludes part 5 of our series on Google Forms. From this training, you should be able to create a Google form to use a rubric for grading live presentations in your classroom. Additional resources are included in the links below the video. If you want to test your knowledge of rubrics and Google Forms, feel free to take our brief quiz over rubrics and Google Forms using our form included below. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to ask questions and share your ideas in the comments section. We hope this helps you simplify your grading process in the classroom.